Welcome, everybody, to the Mere Nonsense Podcast. Uh, Brad's internet might drop during this, so if it does, he's gone. And at least
Dunzo.
we have Venus here to
Good.
take over his place.
I
Yeah, we
think
got
Backup
the
ready.
stand-in ready.
I think
Right.
that's probably what it is. She's here. Her and I can't be on the podcast at the same time
We're
ever.
actually the same person. That's why I'm
True.
using a virtual avatar right now.
Right. It's kind of like,
Mr. Venus Dad.
what was that fucking movie with Will Smith?
Maligma? Oh.
That superpower shitty one where, like, he can't be in the same
Hancock.
place? Yeah.
Hancock?
Hancock.
He can't be in the same place with the other woman, or else they won't have powers. But,
Just
All right.
like that.
exactly. Brad's internet's
seen
going to
that
go out
so
if
long,
he's
sorry.
around her.
Hopefully.
So today's episode is our topic on creepy pasta, and everyone here has their own story that they're going to go off of. So, who would like to start?
Well, before we start, do we want to go over the elements of a creepypasta and maybe give some well-known examples?
What is a creepypasta?
Sure, Billy.
Because it was
Is it
my
penne?
idea. I have to come up
You
with
were
it.
volunteering when you said that.
Apparently. So by definition, a creepypasta is a catch-all term for horror content posted onto the internet. Typically, they are user-generated stories. Exactly, Landy. They're typically user-generated stories, either something paranormal, some gruesome murder, some occult dealings, suicide, the whole 9 yards. Some famous ones that might be more well known are things such as Slender Man, a paranormal entity that, as you do more research on him, he kind of gets closer and closer until he eventually kills you. The Russian sleep experiment, where Russia was using drugs to keep their soldiers, or a new kind of drug to keep some soldiers alive, to see how long they could keep the soldier alive with that, or awake, so to keep them fighting constantly without any breaks, making them go mad and succumbing to the madness of this gas, and other things like that.
Did you bring the Russian sleep experiment, Billy?
No, I changed mine to Smile Dog.
So, since you don't have it, that's the one where towards the end of it, they like kept asking for the gas or whatever,
Yep.
right? Because they said they couldn't fall asleep. They're like,
Mhm.
I can't fall asleep. Keep me awake.
Yep.
Because they're scared of something. That one's creepy. I like that one,
Mhm.
but that one's super common.
It puts the creepy in creepypasta.
It do be.
Right, dude. So,
Definitely creepy.
without further ado,
Do.
we should probably have Brad go first, just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case.
I concur.
So.
Well, okay. So mine, it's called the God Experiment. To preface, I typed this up 2 weeks ago. My notes on it, so I'm kind of rereading it as I'm going. So if I go into too much detail or not enough in some points, I'm sorry. But so essentially, to lay the grounds, Justin is the storyteller. He's the person reading it to us. And then Tommy is his partner. They're both researchers. They're observers. So the creepypasta opens up with the line, "Have you ever wondered what it would be like to play God? Some questions should stay unanswered." So for this, there were 7 people selected for experimentation of different gender, race, sexual orientation. So what they signed up for is that they just have cameras set up in their house, and they just live their normal lives. They're not supposed to do anything different. They're just being observed 24/7. Let's see. So the researchers said that they were going to change something slightly every day, but again to keep at whatever they would normally do. But that's actually a lie. They told them that they didn't actually change anything. They're just observing them. So they just sat there watching. So the very first subject, his name is Michael, number 001. Um, Day one was fine. Day two already started acting crazy. By the second day, Michael was talking to himself. Um, you would see him in corners of the house just going, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Are you sure? I don't want to do it. And then he stayed silent for the rest of the day. Uh, Next day, the guys are watching him. He specifically bangs his head on the wall 23 times. Bang, bang, bang. Uh, when they're looking at his vitals, everything's completely normal. No, he doesn't have any injuries, doesn't have anything. Um, they're day four. Every few hours, Mike would go check the window. Uh, he would just sit there for hours. And then he didn't go to bed for the rest of the night. He just would go to the window, stare at it, and then go back to the corner or whatever he was doing, go back to the window. Next day, Mike just randomly got a promotion at his job, out of the blue. He thought that the experiment was to blame. He thought that they got him the promotion, so he was thanking the cameras, being like, thank you guys so much for this. I really needed the money. But then the next night, Mike stopped at the window like normal, and then he said, "Are you sure?" Then he just sprinted outside. When they were able to get the camera footage, there was one on the outside that they were able to see. Mike just carelessly walked into traffic as if he was in a trance, and got absolutely destroyed by a truck. He got Truck Chan dead.
You got Chuck Cooned.
Truck Coon.
He's tied.
Oof.
Now Tommy, during this, so he's the observer with Justin. Tommy was excited throughout this whole thing. He's like, "Oh my god, did that actually happen?" Like he was like basically cool with it. Like he as if this guy's life didn't actually matter. So let me go on to the second, Caroline. She lived alone. Her mother was sick, and her dad died from the same disease that her mother is sick with. Her whole thing was she asked God for a cure, for her brother to get a paying job, and she would pray for this every single day. Day two of the experiment, chemo worked. Mom's cured. Mom looks even younger than normal, and she smiled. So she was on the camera when she smiled, and Tommy said, "Screenshot that." Same day, brother got a promotion. Later that night, she was caught muttering, "Are they okay? Okay. Are they okay? Okay." Caroline randomly that night, just calmly, not like Michael, but calmly walked into her backyard. Again, blood pressure was good, vitals are all good. She's still very calm. Without warning, a blunt object struck her from behind. Blurry shape dragged her away, and researchers were panicking. They're like, "Where are they? Like, or where'd she go? We can't find her. She's not on any cameras." The last thing she saw was getting knocked over the head, being pulled away. The last thing that they heard was, "Are they okay? Okay."
No.
Number three, a trans male named Courtney. In a relationship, but they did not live together. He had a early onset identity crisis caused by the transition and all that, or wanting to transition, which caused depression and anxiety. Once they actually transitioned, it ended up helping out a lot with those issues. But the parents still ceased all communication. Sorry, I lost myself. Courtney believed in God, but that again continued with the identity crisis of they, according to religion, they shouldn't exist the way they do. And they knew that. They knew they were outcasted for that by the religious community and everything. Also, Mere Nonsense podcast, we approve of all that. This is the story, not me. She said, or he said, that if there is a puppet master, I am the missing string. Still prayed every single night, prayed for acceptance, health for sister, better job, prayed for enough money to pay for a wedding. Randomly got a phone call from her dad, super drunk, or from her mom. Her mom was talking to her, and the dad, you could hear that he was really drunk. He said, "Tell my little girl I said hello." And then, that pissed Courtney off. She's like, "That's it? That's why you called me?" And then clicked off. They haven't talked in years. That's all she hears from them. Hangs up. Much like the other subjects, she kept muttering to herself, "I am your missing string. I am your missing string. I am your missing string." Courtney looked into the camera one night, pointed towards one, or pointed towards another one off screen. So if I'm looking at this one, she pointed over to this one. They moved to that one. Some black figure just standing. Justin finally, what the fuck is that? I have a little bit of a skip in the notes, but so she's like, "What the fuck is that?" Figure disappears. Later that night, all they see is
Oh no.
her
Oh no.
walk
Oh no.
off the distance, much like the others.
Getting even scarier.
They're gonna know.
The ghosties from that creepypasta coming right now.
Right. There's an actual God experiment on
Havoc
Brad right
we
now.
can't even hear Havoc. There are no words coming out.
Right.
Oh no.
No, sorry, I muted myself. There's a lot of noise in the background.
Oh no.
Oh
Oh
boy.
my!
Oh my
No, no.
god.
Oh
We
boy.
lost his
The
video feed.
podcast is haunted.
Oh my god, the timing on this.
Oh my god. I'm in suspense.
Oh
Like
my
I was at the edge
goodness.
of my seat. Like I've never
Right.
walked down the hall and what? Like, oh my god.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
oh.
I was on my cell phone for a second. My cell phone, it brought me right back.
Oh shit.
They
Oh
got him
my
again.
He said I got it right back.
What a fucking
Oh
sound streak.
no.
Somebody clip.
So you guys
Hold
can hear
up.
me. I'm good.
Oh, no,
right?
that's good.
Now we can.
Yeah.
Oh
Goodbye.
no.
Oh, poor Brad.
Oh,
Brad, no.
damn. Well,
It's
Brad is dead.
The world may never know what really happened.
The ghosties
much
took
like
him. Oh shit,
Subject
Brad's back.
002. We might never see him again.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I am on my cell phone.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I'm just gonna continue the story from here real quick. So you saw the black figure. Said, "What the fuck is that?" It disappeared. Camera cut to her walking out of the house like the others do, muttering to herself, "Where do all missing strings go? Where do all missing strings go?" Courtney kept asking the audio feed. I think she had a camera with her. That night, she jumped off a bridge and died.
Oh fuck.
Like a dramatic swan dive. Even.
Yeah. Number 4, Michelle, a trans female. She never got used to the cameras. She fucking hated the cameras. The second that they were on, they bugged her. She was very hermit-like. She kept to herself. Never really went out too often. She was a conspiracy theorist and a journalist. She worked from home. So she would do normal journalism, but she would sneak her conspiracy theories into there, which then got her fired from the Journal. One day she got really drunk, moved a chair to a blind spot where the cameras couldn't see her, and sat there just for 4 hours. She talked openly to the researchers. She would be off camera, but she would just talk to them, right? Even though they can't talk back to her, she was talking to them. She would walk around with just a bottle of Jack. At this point, she did basically live stream herself, like she's a Twitch streamer. She would walk around talking to it, live streaming. She refused to sleep. She became manic, would just sit and stare at walls for hours. She would go into her blind spots for, days at a time. One night, someone just started pounding very loudly at the door. And then she asked the feed, she's like, do you guys hear it now? I guess previously she was hearing noises and the researchers never heard anything. But this time she said, do you guys hear it now? Tommy, out of nowhere, said he cannot answer that door. And then all they heard was a gunshot. Tommy cuts to all the cameras in the house trying to see where it is. At one point, they just pan to one of the screens where there was just a trail of blood. At this point, Tommy cut all of the cameras off from every single person. He said that the God experiment, cannot keep going. We have to help the remaining subjects. We're running out of time. So they get in the car together, Justin and Tommy. Justin driving down. There's a terrible hurricane. They're driving down the highway in a terrible hurricane, just pouring rain. Justin kept asking Tommy what's going on. Tommy turns to him and he's like, "How do you think we still have money?" Justin had to sit there and think about it for a little bit. And he's like, "What do you mean?" Like, I just kind of assumed that we were, funded by just people, right? And Tommy let it slip that 5 people had died. I did it myself this time. A little arsenic in her chicken, alluding to killing the other subject himself. Then Tommy said, "We need to get away from him," alluding to there's a man behind the curtain for this whole thing. As they're driving, Justin loses control of the car and falls into a swamp. When they crash, something, part of the vehicle or whatever, or maybe like a tree, got stuck into the car, got into Tommy, and Tommy's starting to bleed out. Justin managed, with a broken arm, to pull him out of the swamp, and then he tried to stop Tommy's bleeding. Tommy kept saying he would have tortured her. There was nothing else we could do. He would have tortured her. And then Justin, "Why would you kill one of our subjects?" As he says this, a man in a black suit comes down to them. Justin tried asking for help, but he was not responding. Instead, said, "Good evening to you both," then shot Tommy twice. Justin there was only one subject remaining. So this is Justin now speaking from his perspective. There was only one subject left remaining, me. Justin blacks out, wakes up, says, I wished I wasn't alive. I was drugged, I was beaten, I was tied up. He described that he was going insane with pain because they injected him with a bunch of stuff, plus, from a car accident. But whoever his kidnappers were, they hurt him. God, quote unquote, I would like to talk about the God experiment. So at this point, we are assuming that this is the man in black. Who are they calling God? They talked about number 005, Priyanka. This is the one that Tommy killed. He mentioned that, again, like everyone else, she lived her life like normal. But Tommy had snuck in and slipped the arsenic into her food so that she could just, die more peacefully than if God got a hold of her. At this point, we find out that God's name is Diego. He's talking with another person, some young lady. He starts arguing with her, and he says his memory should have been wiped. The feds tested it years ago. We used these on subject 006 for 6 years. Is it too soon? Justin, our purpose in the God experiment was only to ensure death came at the right time. So at this point, he's talking to Justin, explaining what happened. Then the lady that he's with, the one he was arguing with, says, "We have to kill them. The Attorney General, ... Justin breaks free. Tommy comes in with a gun. So Tommy is still alive, breaks in with a gun, shoots everyone, turns the guns on himself, and kills himself. So at this point, it's again Justin talking to everyone. Justin is here, only alive because Tommy sacrificed himself and was able to get him out of the situation. And this, he's free of this. But then Justin mentions that if the government wants us dead, we're gonna die. The entire point of the experiment was no matter how your life is going, if the government wants you dead, they will get you killed. The diversity was to prove a point. Anyone can be vulnerable at any time. The same government that taxes us ordered our deaths. Justin goes into hiding for 6 months. Just as I submitted this final update, my camera turned red. The state is always watching me, and they are always watching you. I only wanted someone else to see.
Bum, bum, bum.
Well, damn.
So little cliff notes there. I apologize. I want to keep it a little bit shorter, but all of those things, they just happen naturally, and the government themselves just set up this experiment just to kill these people off at their highs and at their lows.
That's
The
fucking
government
nuts,
is
dude.
always watching you.
Right.
The
You're
real
always
horde
vulnerable.
is Big Brother all
That's
along.
right. This
Right,
is the
brother
takeaway.
eye.
Correct. This is the correct takeaway. It's terrifying. So scary.
It is terrifying.
Scary
was-
because it's
But
real.
yeah,
That was pretty
I
good.
apologize for my mic cutting out or my internet cutting out in the middle there, but I'm glad I was able to get through it.
It was probably the government.
Yeah, it was the government.
Probably
it
was a
was.
fucking.
They
My
don't-
camera did turn red.
They didn't want you
Yeah,
to
they
tell the
didn't
story.
want you to spread the word. They didn't want the world to know the
Right.
truth.
Well, if Venus, if her, what are those things called? If your VTuber character ends up dead tomorrow, we know why.
The government. Exactly.
Big
The
Subject
character,
zero
not
zero
her.
Powerful.
Subject 008, the new beginnings.
Right. Oh, nice. That was actually pretty good. I liked it.
That's a
Mhm.
very complex creepypasta. So I've heard of the God Experiment creepypasta, but I never devoted the time to actually going through it. But
Yeah.
it's good. There's layers to the creep there.
So, like I said, I kind of cliff noted it, but that end part, that was not word for word, but that was that sped up at the end. The whole them falling into the ditch, and then so the video I listened to, I didn't read this, I listened to a video, 35 minutes long. Those last 2 bits were 6 minutes of the video. That was it. The last 6 minutes. So they sped it up themselves, which I could have used a little more detail there. I would have liked more detail, but
Right.
is anyone else getting that feedback from Billy?
Yep, it's his fan.
Is it for me?
Yep.
It's good. It's good now, I guess.
But yeah.
Cool. That's nice. All
Neat.
right. Well,
Yeah.
shit. Would any of you two like to go next?
I'll use Z.
Okay. So I ended up choosing The Suicide Engineer by Tim Sprague. And this one might be a little bit longer than Brad's because it's a little too hard to cliff note this one for me at least.
Yeah, but at least we read it and didn't watch a video, right?
Right. So yeah, without further ado, this is from a point of view of Andrew Talbot's friend. And he states before continuing with the story, Andrew, if you're reading this, talk to me. Let me know you're alive. I recently received an email from Andrew that contained a recording of his podcast that, to my knowledge, never aired. There was no explanation as to why he had sent it to me. There was just a request that I distribute it. When I tried to call him to find out what's happening, I was unable to get through. The call didn't go to voicemail. It just beeped twice and hung up each time, and I tried. Over the last few days, I've called multiple times and have gone over to his house twice, but I haven't been able to reach him. Whenever I would try to upload the podcast to a website, as he requested, there would always be an error message. No matter what I did, I couldn't get it to properly upload. Because of this, I wrote a transcript of the recording so that I could instead distribute that. This is the first time that I've ever done anything like this, so I'm sure that there's some errors in the formatting. This is by Andrew Talbot. On April 18th, 2022, Carolyn Blake committed suicide. Her body was found when her downstairs neighbor reported water leaking through the ceiling, thinking that there was a burst pipe. The landlord had knocked at Carolyn's door for nearly 20 minutes to try to gain access to the apartment. It was easier to go through her floor rather than through the complaining tenant's ceiling. She didn't answer, and after checking with his lawyer that this qualified as an emergency, allowing him to enter without permission, he unlocked the door using his master key and went to perform the repair. The landlord discovered her body in the bathroom. She was lying fully clothed in the bathtub with her wrist slit. The water had been left running, and it poured over the side of the tub like a waterfall as it drained into the floor vent and soaked the floor in wood trim. I didn't know Carolyn. It's a small town, so I may have passed her in a store or bumped into her at a restaurant, but I don't remember if anything like that did happen. I'd like to say that her death had an effect on the community. What actually happened was, well, nothing. Carolyn's death was just a blip in the radar that the vast majority of people didn't register. One of the exceptions was Ray Karsten. Ray told me that he had known Carolyn for a few years. They worked in the same office, and they had grown particularly close while working on a project that had been assigned to them. One thing led to another. They began a relationship. The problem was, Ray was married. Happily married, as he put it. I have my doubts about that, since in my experience, happily married people don't tend to have long-term affairs. But that's what he told me. At some point, she had introduced him to her mother. He had convinced the elderly woman to let him help with going through Carolyn's things and getting the necessary arrangements made. This had allowed him to rummage through her late lover's possessions with impunity. Some of this writing is kind of like it's in a podcast, so he's just typing it out right now because he can't post it. So some of this tends to start like awkwardly. Just a heads up. Started this podcast about electronics and technology. I never thought that it would lead to old acquaintances asking me to go through dead people's phones. That's what Ray wanted me to do, though. He didn't just need me to unlock the phone. That would only have gotten him so far. Carolyn had frequented multiple social media platforms, and she used dozens of different apps that she knew of. What he needed was for me to go through everything and make sure that all mentions of the affair were removed. At first, I refused. I was polite about it, but just the thought of doing what he was asking disgusted me. I eventually relented and agreed to do what he asked, under the condition that he give me the phone and not be present while I worked. I don't know if I'm about to confess a crime here. Is it a crime to break into a dead person's phone? Whether it is or not, I'm not going to pretend that it wasn't wrong. It absolutely was. It's just not what's important right now. I wasn't sure where to start looking. It wasn't until I started digging through her email that I found something of interest. I was so preoccupied with hurrying up with what I had agreed to do that my critical thinking skills didn't have time to catch up. When I checked the trash folder, I found hundreds, if not thousands, of automated notifications that had been deleted. I did a bit more digging, and I found that they'd all been sent within a span of a week. I picked one at random and opened it. The notification was for a new comment on a video that Carolyn had posted, and it wasn't flattering to say the least. There was a link to the video in question. I tapped on it and watched the first minute or so of the video. It was a makeup tutorial. Now that I had some context, I scrolled down to the comments to locate the post by your girl to see if other people had replied to it. I found the post, but it wasn't anything like the notification had said. It was instead a glowing review that went out of its way to praise Carolyn and the content that she provided. That was odd, obviously, but I figured that there had been two posts and the negative one had been deleted. When I would check the platform they were supposedly hosted on, though, I would always find a positive post, something very odd was going on. I came to an email that was a response to a complaint that Carolyn had filed with the site administrator about a particularly disgusting comment. The administrators didn't come right out and say it, but it was strongly implied that they believed she was making the entire thing up. Wrote on Facebook about how she was feeling down after onslaught of negative comments. Her mother and a number of friends replied to the post, and all of them basically told her that she had become both a whiner and a disappointment in some extremely colorful language. Carolyn had 2 voicemails. I clicked on the voicemail and almost immediately wished I didn't. What followed was nearly 5-minute long message from Carolyn's mother berating her daughter. The second voicemail was from Ray. She had received it less than an hour after getting her mother's voicemail. If the first message had sickened me, this one made my blood boil. It was brutal to listen to. It was almost a relief when he finally declared that their relationship was over and hung up the phone. Ray had told me that he had been getting ready to break off the relationship with Carolyn when she had committed suicide. According to the voicemail he had left, though, he had already done so. Why did he lie to me about that? Carolyn had a recording of a woman. This woman was going on about life and how hard it can be without a support system, and to wonder what life would be like without anyone to support you. I think that if everyone was turning against me, I'd need to take a good hard look at myself. All of those people couldn't be wrong. What did they know that I didn't? What was so wrong with me that invited such disdain and hatred? There would have been something for everyone to act that way. How about you? Have you ever experienced all your friends and family turning their backs on you? If so, did you look deep inside yourself and figure out why you're so repellent to others? I think that if it was me, I would have to decide if the people I cared about were better off without me in their world. After all, is my one life more important than the happiness of all those other people? No, of course not. I love my family and friends. I want them to be happy, much more than I want myself to be. If my being gone was what made them happy, then wouldn't it be better for everyone if I just died? In her final days, Carolyn had been under assault mentally, emotionally, and financially. It must have been hell. She would lose all of her money from her bank account, and there was no way to trace what happened with it. Her security cameras were the last things to check. The third and final recording was from a camera in a hallway. It was angled so that it was pointing through an open doorway. This was Carolyn's bedroom. This thing came into the view from the left side of the bedroom. It was being lowered by thin, sinuous tendrils. The creature itself was... how do I put this? It was only a few inches wide, but was the height of a person. It was like the head and body were just a mask and covering, being manipulated by the tendrils rather than an actual figure. 3 arm-like appendages reached out towards the bed, each ending in thin, delicate strands that acted as fingers. The creature slowly pulled the blanket off the bed. It released its grip and allowed the cloth to fall to the floor. One of the appendages slowly stretched out through the door and into the hallway. The fingers touched the thermostat attached to one of the walls and turned the dial all the way to the left. The appendages retracted, and the creature pulled back out of sight. I watched it back. I don't know how many times it was. I just kept replaying it over and over again. No matter how many times I watched it, I couldn't just force myself to accept it. Carolyn would wake up, freezing, just going back to the thermostat and trying to turn it back up. It wasn't working. The creature made sure that all roads led to her taking her own life. This is where Carolyn Blake's story comes to an end. It's unfortunately not where the story as a whole does. 24 hours ago, I found out that Ray Karsten committed suicide. It didn't take a genius to put 2 and 2 together. The creature from the security footage had gone after Ray, and it had once again been successful. This morning, I woke up to a text on my phone alerting me that my checking account was overdrawn. Thousands of dollars were just gone. I also received notice that my podcast is currently suspended while it's being investigated for violating terms and conditions of the hosting site. It's my turn to be targeted. I'm hoping that because I actually know what's happening, I'll be able to get through what's about to come to my way. That's what I hope. there's no way of knowing what plan the suicide engineer has for me. And that's where it ended.
Don't you?
Bum, bum, bum.
Creepy. The way you described it was really creepy.
Yeah.
I love how the technology is involved with that. The way like the messages are different and that shit. Like it's thermostat, but
Yeah.
like
There was a little bit that I took off from that thermostat scene just because it was really just her dealing with the thermostat and just going back to sleep, and that was it. It was more so just explaining the creature just pretty much stalking her.
Mm.
But
very creepy creature.
Okay. What was this one called again?
it is called the Suicide Engineer.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not too bad.
Okay.
But one
Yeah,
thing
that's good.
so were the voicemails not real too, or were
Well, the thing
voicemails
was,
weren't
it's
real,
kind
were
of,
they?
it's like, it was messing with her head, like, essentially giving her hallucinations. And what she saw was
Ah.
not what anyone else saw.
Mm.
So the comments on her videos of her YouTube channel were all really nice. Everyone loved her work. But she was just
Oh.
looking at it from the, I guess, the monster's perspective, just hallucinating, thinking that everyone was talking mad shit about her.
Right.
When really the only two people that didn't like her were her mom and Ray, the dude that she was
The
having
guy
an
who was
affair
gonna
with.
break up with her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The ASMR video part too, or the audio from the ASMR, like the like it's supposed to be like that self-help sound, but it's like coaching her into it. Like that
Yeah. Yeah.
And Billy's fan makes it even scarier.
I don't know why it's coming. Like it's even on a slower speed, so it's supposed to be quieter.
Yeah, I mean, your mic is super loud right now. I don't know if it's switched to a different thing or what.
I don't know. My gain's even
the
like
podcast
turned
is haunted.
all the way.
Yeah, right.
Like my gain's down lower than usual too.
It
I
worked.
would say cursed, not fucking haunted.
No, it
Ooh,
worked.
what's the difference?
It
How
worked
are
for
we
my
distinguishing?
creepypasta because throughout the story there were constant like little parts where it says there's static going on and it just gets louder and louder.
It fits.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the sound effect.
Yeah, right.
That's really what I was going for. Yeah, make the story
Exactly.
sound better.
Yeah, it's a good thing I have you on low. Well, not super low, but not high
Yeah,
enough
like
to where that
even-
sound is fucking with me, so
Yeah, you're blowing my phone headphones out.
Well, even like
as long as it sounds good on the podcast.
even on slobs, like it doesn't pick up that the fan's blowing, or at least it doesn't show it in my mixer. So
Right. That's weird.
well, this is Discord. You just got to look at the green borders around you.
I know that's what I was seeing. I'd look over at my slobs. It's like it's not even being picked up on that for my mic. It's like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
Billy, do we need to go back to TeamSpeak, Billy?
We might need to.
At least for this
Sweet.
podcast.
What a throwback.
Landy
Can
brings
we-
up a good point in chat. Landy wants to know, have we even confirmed that Brad wasn't replaced by one of the God experiment homunculi?
It's literally
Ooh,
what
that's
I've been
not right.
thinking the entire time. Like that's why his internet was
Yeah.
fucking up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's why we can't see him.
They
anymore.
didn't want him to talk about it.
He's a government body, and we should also go to Ventrilo.
Help me.
Sus, his cam isn't on too.
It's like a bug alien, like from the first one in Black,
Mhm.
the one that was taking control of the farmer.
Mm.
I'm the really skinny ones, actually. That was that, those guys. I'm one of those.
Are we smoking cigarettes and drinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
That's
is
me.
Brad.
That's
The
me.
Brad. Alright. I guess I can go next. I'll try to make mine not as long as these.
Well, mine was only like 10 minutes.
So I did mine on Smile Dog, who might be a lesser known creepypasta.
Is that similar to Updog?
It's actually the exact opposite of Updog.
So down dog.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
What's
the downward
down
dog. Smile Dog is there is like no idea on who originally wrote it. Like the author is unknown.
Mm.
And as Q-Berry said, fun fact, the Smile Dog is actually an eldritch being. So it's a being
Okay.
that's supposed to bring about some kind of horrific nature.
Oh.
As you do.
And the basic about Smile Dog is it's an aggressive and bloodthirsty, dangerous and sadistic entity who's endlessly reveling in the terror of others. And he's always smiling, but is always making this request to, uh, you know, show me to others, spread my word, and I'll leave you alone. He comes in on your dreams, and you can do nothing in this dream except sit and stare ahead. You can't speak, you can't move, anything like that. And it's just this smiling dog staring at you, telling you to, spread his word. There's a beckoning hand calling for you.
Oh.
And it seems that the only goal besides spreading fear is that he could kill those who defy him and try to resist him and drag them in hell, enjoying every second that he does. Which is where some believe he came. They believe that he was a demonic entity. But a little bit about the creepypasta itself. Basically, there's this writer. Well, he's going to college to be a writer. In his freshman year in college, he reaches out to a soundboard operator from like the 40s, and she was like one of the first recorded people to have come in contact with the smile.jpg or the smile.dog. It was her and then other people who operated that same soundboard as her. And out of all the other people that have operated it, she was the only one who spoke up about it, saying that she experienced it. All of her other coworkers that experienced it had either killed themselves or gotten completely into hiding and just fell off the face of the earth. She agrees to be interviewed by the author, and the day comes for the author to come and do the interview, and she just locks herself in the room, says no, and she's crying. She doesn't want to do anything. And the author goes through about how, he was doing all this research on it, and he was kind of disappointed that this elderly lady said no and kind of turned it down even after agreeing, but that he was trying to take it in stride and said, whatever, maybe she's just trying to protect me, maybe something really is jacked up, or whatever. And eventually she gets an email, or he gets an email from the lady he was going to interview, and the email's telling him that it's from the lady who's going to interview, and said, hey, I wanted to give you this diskette. When I first experienced the dog, it gave me a diskette and told me to spread my word, and I was going to give that to you, and I decided not to. I had realized what I was going to do, that I was going to ruin your life. I didn't want to put you through all the pain that I had to go through for the past 15 years. I didn't want to push that on you. And she goes on into detail about when she's sleeping every night for the past 15 years since she experienced it, that this dog comes into her dreams, these nightmares, and she can't do anything. She can't scream, she can't move. She has to sit and look at this dog as it tells her, spread my word, spread the word of me, and this beckoning hand calling her forward. She talks about how she contemplated she would give it to, how would she get rid of it and pass it on. She even contemplated giving it to her husband, who had no idea about it. They had started dating 5 months before she came in contact with this, so he was clueless about it, until she started getting more and more notoriety from it. And it eventually closes out and it's like, I'm not going to ruin your life. I've decided to hide the diskette and nobody will ever find it. And then nothing. The author's like, okay, maybe she really was saving me. That's a creepy thing to mention. And then he gets another email, a little bit later, maybe 5 days after, I think is what it said. And it's from her husband, saying that she had killed herself and that he had found the diskette and burned it, and that he was going through her belongings and closing out her emails, and he came across the one she wrote to him, and he was just mortified that she had been going through all that and that he hadn't realized it. So he burned the diskette, said that please stop looking into it. It's only going to get worse. And from there on, it kind of dies down. And then the author says, a year later, someone reached out to me saying, I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you were interested in Smile Dog. I have saw it. It is not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you here, just spreading the word. And it's signed with a smiley face at the bottom. But that just spreading the word is the same words and the same wordage that the lady before, her name was Mary, said that the dog was beckoning to her to do. Spread the word, spread my likeness, my image. So the author starts contemplating, he's a sophomore now, he hasn't heard about it in a year. Was what she said really true? Did it really matter? If I did this, could I pass this on? And he's going over the morality of if I could even push this on to someone else. And then it goes in and says, if I went through with my earlier intention to write a short article about smile.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence, and anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest would be affected. And even assuming the smile.jpg attached to the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that manner? Could I spread the word? Yes, I could. And then attached at the bottom of the article is a picture, that same picture of a Siberian Husky with a hand out beckoning. And the Siberian Husky's got that smiling face where it's got sharp human-like teeth.
So Billy's dead.
Yeah, if I start dreaming about Siberian Huskies,
you caught the
definitely bringing it to you guys. But there's a little bit more. So that's just like one of the stories about it. There's a lot of different alterations of the smile.jpg or smile.dog. Some of them go even further to say that if you don't share the image, that smile.dog, like you get another photo, or the photo itself morphs into another picture. And the other picture is a hand grabbing a Siberian Husky who is growling, and it looks like it's got blood kind of trickling from its mouth. Like it's about to go murder something, or already has murdered something.
Fuck.
So, yeah, and a lot of people kind of like say that it's an entity that has come from the devil himself, or an original picture of the devil.
Damn. I love that it's a husky.
Yep. Yeah, it's described as likeness to a Siberian Husky, white face, black eyes, black ears, and then the thing that always gets it is 2 rows of very white, very sharp, human-like teeth. Like it just looks like if you took a human smiling and just put it in a husky.
This, like, the human teeth on things that aren't supposed to have human teeth is so creepy to me. Oh my god. And sleep paralysis is also a unique horror phenomena. Have any of you actually experienced sleep paralysis, like in a nightmare
Nope.
setting?
Everyone around me has, but I haven't.
Same.
I get night terrors, but I can move in them. So night terrors, my body and my brain think that I'm like physically in whatever's going on. So like a lot of the time, I hate bugs, I hate spiders. A lot of the time, I will think there's a spider on me. I freak out, I start whacking it, and I wake up, and it's not. Well, I'm like conscious during it, and I'm physically actually hitting myself trying to get the spiders off. Or sometimes I feel like I hear something in my house or whatever. It's like you're in a daze, but you can move.
Oh no.
The night terrors are getting him.
Night terrors are getting him.
This is not his night, folks.
No.
I'm not.
Oh
Brad,
boy.
if you can hear us, we're coming. Night terrors while awake.
Oh, have you had one?
Nightmare,
Venus?
nightmare.
I've had night terrors. I've never had sleep paralysis before. I guess we're all missing out on a real experience there. Who knows? Maybe tonight's the night. Maybe we'll all get a visit from Smile Doctor tonight.
I don't know. In my family, it's usually the people that are like religious that get that. Like
Really?
more
That's
so than
so
the rest of us.
interesting.
And like
Like,
in Spanish,
rel-
we say like the dead is on you. It's not actually. They don't call it sleep paralysis. It's just the dead have come up and are holding you down.
That's always how it's been like explained to me. Like something is sitting on your chest and you can't get up, you can't move, and you just kind of see something either in the corner of your eye or something in behind a door. Which have you guys ever experienced that where like it's dark and you're like for whatever reason you can't fall asleep and you're just like looking and for whatever reason you start seeing shit just like forming in the corner or behind something?
it's like the shapes in your scared brain start to have a terrible love child, and it's
Mhm.
like, do you remember in Gerald's Game, that one horror movie we watched where the figure in the corner, it like started off like that, where it was just like the
Mhm.
shadow, and then as the light changed in that bedroom over like hours, and then like suddenly that corner looked totally different in the dark, like someone was fucking standing there, and yeah, that happens to me all the time in the dark. I hate it. I have to get up and check most of the time. I can't live with that.
Or when you watch too many scary movies and then you're hearing any type of creak is like,
Mhm.
fuck.
Someone's at my house now.
Yeah, right?
Especially if you sleep in the basement, everything creaks.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let us not take away from Venus's time for her creepypasta that she spent literally months on.
Literally.
Years even. I chose the Harbinger experiment, which is actually a creepypasta that was like vaguely familiar to me. Like, or I felt like I kind of remembered it, but it made for a very good reread. It's not super long, and it's definitely kind of like the science experiment gone wrong kind of creepypasta material. It's like set in the 1980s, where this scientist who, like, the whole story, the author is like, the POV is like this medical professional who was hired to be like the doctor on for this experiment. And from his perspective, he's like hired by this crazy scientist who's like known for being weird, into like weird occult shit. And like, he hires him and he's like, yeah, the doctor's like, I needed the money. Like, this guy is kind of a wacky scientist dude, but I needed the money, so whatever. And they go out into like the Alaskan wilderness. It's 1987, and the scientist hires three like locals that won't be missed. Like, they're people who are kind of like drifters, and they're told that they're being hired to be subjects in an experiment on isolation. But that was not the experiment. That was not the point. But that was what they were told, so that when they were brought to this like creepy underground bunker compound with three separate rooms that were like heavy duty fortified, they didn't really question it because they thought that was just like the isolation part of the experiment. Really, this scientist was going to try to summon entities from another place, another plane, another universe. I don't know. It's not super specific. The doctor, I guess, did not get the details, but these entities were going to be invited to possess or occupy these human hosts. And I guess the end goal here for the crazy scientist was to like prove to academia that like the paranormal existed. But as we might imagine, it didn't go well for these people. they get each of these subjects into the room, and everybody who's like on staff, so to speak, so like the doctor, there's like a security team, the scientist, whatever, they're all in like a control room, and there's 3 monitors for each of like the subject rooms. And the scientist like starts like over a loudspeaker chanting some wacky like fucking incantation occult shit. Doctor doesn't know what he's fucking hearing, but it doesn't sound good. And there's a lot of description about like how the air changes, and like there's like you can feel like the floor kind of shake, like, and things start to feel not okay. Like maybe this was not worth a paycheck. And then all of the monitors go out, and everybody's a little freaked out. And then the well, I'm gonna give me a second. I gotta make sure I tell this correctly. I'll scroll down. These monitors, when they are out, they're out for a long time, and everybody's just kind of waiting to see what's gonna happen. And the scientist eventually is like, all right, everybody leave the compound. You know, we're gonna give it till the morning, and then we're gonna come and see what's going on. And so when they all come back in the morning, they go down there, and they see on the second monitor that the second subject experiment is just dead on the floor. So people already are starting to be a little freaked out. And once they realize that things are not going according to plan, the security team gets sent in, and they're told that they need to go like check room number 1. Now the third monitor was also on, and it's this like super fucking creepy, long arms, big black eyes, just staring into the camera, sending a very, very ominous vibe. But the security team that goes to check on room number 1, there's a lot of gunshots. There's a lot of screaming. It doesn't sound good. Anyone left in that control room, like the doctor and the scientist, they know things are not looking good. When some of these security team people come back, they're like carrying one of them who's like shredded, like his face is shredded, his chest is shredded, he's like completely fucked, and they look like they've seen some fucked up shit. But one of them manages to say that whatever jumped out of that room was dead. So that third creature in the room is still staring at them, still just kind of holding this like very evil presence. And then the static does go out on that one, and they start to feel that something is coming towards them. This, admittedly, this is a shorter creepypasta than some of your guys', but that's, you know, shorter is sometimes really good. There's nothing anyway. So eventually they feel and hear like through this, there's like some creepy music that this thing starts to play like through the walls, like a haunting old melody, and it's coming closer to this control room. They can feel its presence. People are like scrambling for the ladder, and they're starting to like hurt each other to get up the ladder, to get out of this underground bunker. And the doctor's kind of like hanging back, and that thing busts through the door, starts tearing people the fuck apart. Doctor goes for the ladder, makes it up, and he's like, I'm the only one that lived. I'm here to tell the tale. This is what really happened. The end.
Damn.
Don't summon random entities. It's a bad idea, guys.
That's how you get rid of most of the horror movies.
And the curse of being the only one alive is no one believes you.
Right? I love how in most creepypasta there's something like that tucked in, and there was in this one too, where it's like, you may not believe me, you're probably just reading this at night on the internet for your cheap thrills, but this really happened.
Right. Wow. Yo, some of these stories were interesting, to say the least.
I feel like creepypasta is like the modern day version of telling scary stories around a campfire.
Oh yeah.
This is sort of like where it ended up.
Right. We should do that one day. We'll just get a bonfire going on. Just get
There
a
you
group
go.
of people.
Gotta get some s'mores too.
Yep.
And strawberries.
And strawberries.
We'll get
Can't
like a
forget
whole
that.
squad of people.
The whole squad. Bonfire squad.
Like that one show from like
Squad.
back in the was it 90s or 80s?
in the 90s.
Where like
Which
these.
oh,
I think it was the one where like
uh,
the kids were all together at a bonfire.
is it Tales Told? No, that's Tales from the Crypt. No, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Was that it?
No.
No.
No, it was like an actual show.
But it starts off with them around the campfire. I totally know what you're talking
Yeah.
Okay, well, like, what about Tales from the Crypt, though?
Ah, there we go.
Yeah,
Are
that
you
was
afraid of the
that
dark?
was the first thing my brain produced, but I know that's not it. That is an OG though.
Yeah. Are you
Love that
afraid of
shit.
the dark? That's the
Fucking
show.
love that shit.
I'll say that sounded familiar. I feel like I've seen a couple of those.
Right? Like that rung such a
Episodes.
bell in my
'Cause-
like.
Yeah, because like it starts with them around the campfire, and then as they're telling it, it actually goes into the
Yeah,
set of
And
the
that's
story.
the episode, right? In each episode, it's great. Is like that. Yeah. Yes, I've seen it.
Do you guys just want to do a Goosebumps watch party? Go through some old episodes?
After the Strangers. Yes.
Strangers.
There's some
The
people
They
that
had
actually haven't
7
watched
seasons
Strangers.
with 13 episodes each.
Wow. I do
Sounds
remember it
like
being
the
on for like years. I remember. Isn't Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark? Was I
Are
correct?
you afraid of the dark?
Oh, well, I was halfway. I'll take it.
All right. Anyone in listening to this and on Billy's chat, when was the last time you were scared of a movie?
Or a creepypasta.
Yeah. Or a story. Yeah. To me, it was yesterday. It was last night. I was a little
I,
bitch.
Watched some serious horror movies last.
Dude, we really
Mine,
did.
mine was
I was putting
Malignant.
it to sleep.
Brad, shut
Right?
up.
There's
No, it
movie.
wasn't.
That movie was so
You shit
bad,
on that
it was so
movie so
scary.
much.
It was so bad, it was scary. I hate that fucking movie. Fuck you, James Wan.
This has been a pretty decent podcast, except for Brad's bullshit. You know,
I think that's
And-
why it wasn't
and-
even better than normal podcasts.
And Billy's fan.
Some would say it was even better.
My fan enhanced the podcast. All right, Brad? Don't be jealous.
I
Billy
am
over here with the
confident-
sound effects.
I'm confident it's that me and Venus are the same person, so we cannot be on the same
And we're both
podcast
the
at the same time.
government. Don't forget
Mm.
that part.
We are both the government.
We are
Mhm.
Legion.
We are
Billy's a
farmers.
style dog.
Bum, ba-dum, bum,
We,
bum.
gotta do the We Are Legion. Grr, 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 grr.
There we go. Well, this has been a pretty decent episode. Next week, we will be doing murder stories. So hopefully you guys tune in on that one. Venus,
Mer.
lovely to have you again. It's always great to have you on this podcast.
Pleasure to be here, as always.
And yeah, thanks for everyone for joining. Y'all have a good night. Deuces.
Bye-bye.